Hello and welcome to this first look exploring session looking at the Wise-Woman of Hogsdon, a comedy, as it hath been sundry times, acted with great applause, written by Thomas Heywood, printed in 1638 and written sometime before that. Opinions vary as to it's pretty much got almost a it's not quite a full 30-year, but a good 25 years dating range on this, so it could go anywhere. So yeah, and we don't really care, frankly. We just want to find out whether the play's any good, and whether we can do exciting things with it. And to find out whether we can do exciting things with it, we have reading Luce, and woman is.
Hello, my name's Lynn Freitas. I'm a college composition teacher, and I live in the northwestern United States, where it's still dark out.
Though it may not be when you watch this video. Reading, it might actually be. We might have been in sync with the seasons by the time this actually goes out. Reading Sencer and second Luce, bit of a spoiler there, is...
Oh, mysterious. Hi, my name's Emma. I'm an actor, and I am based in London.
Reading Chartley and Kitchen-maid is...
Aliki, Chapple, actor and translator, currently between Greece and the UK. Who knows where I'll be when you see this?
Reading Joseph and Tabor is...
Hello, I'm Eric. I'm here for funny voices and coffee. Well, mainly powered by coffee. I mean, I've had 3 this method.
Reading Boyster and Sir Harry is...
Hi, I'm Lois. I'm a retired academic living in London.
Reading Father, Countryman and Sir Boniface is...
Alan, based in Suffolk.
And reading, for a percentage of the time, Haringfield, as well as the Wise-Woman of the title, and Gratiana is...
Sarah Blake. Oh, sorry. Sarah Blake. Actor, writer and director, based in Germany, apparently not able to speak.
And I'm your host, Robert Crighton. I will be reading stage directions. I may jump in to read another part later on if required. I don't think we have any excessive clashes this session. So we're going to start at the beginning of the play. There is no prologue so far as I am aware. And so enter as newly come from a play. So we're going into a play, and the first entrance is people who have newly come from a play. Lois.
No, play.
Come from play. Sorry, come from play.
We've been gambling, in other words.
Ah, yes. Multiple uses of the word play are available. I apologise. I was just for context. The reason why I don't read is I print off the scripts very, very small. So it's very difficult for me to read extended prose or verse. Anyway, enter as newly come from play. 4 young gentlemen, Master Chartley, Master Sencer, Master Boyster, and Master Haringfield.
Price of my life! Now, if the devil have bones, these dice are made of his. Was ever such a cast seen in this age? Could any gull in Europe, saving myself, fling such a cast?
Aye.
No.
Yes.
But say no. I have lost £100, and I will have my saying.
I've lost another 100. I'll have mine. Aye. Yes. I flung a worse by odds.
I cry you mercy, sir. Losers may speak. I'll not accept against you. And let me see, which of these 2 that pocket up our cash dares contradict me?
Sir, not I. I say you have had bad casting.
Say I.
I say this hat's not made of wool. Which of you dares say the contrary?
It may be 'tis a beaver.
Very likely so. 'Tis not wool, but a plain beaver.
'Tis wool, but which of you dares say so? I would fain pick a quarrel with them to get some of my money again, but the slaves, now they have got it, are too wise to part with it. I say it is not black.
So say we too.
'Tis false. His cap's of wool. 'Tis black, and wool, and black.
I have naught to say to losers. Have I nothing left to set a cast? Set at a cast. Aye, finger must you be set in gold, and not a jot of silver in my purse. A bale of fresh dice. Oh, come at this ring.
Aye, Master Chartley. 'Tis time to give over.
That's the winner's phrase. Hold me play, or he that hath uncrowned me. I'll take a speedy order with him.
Fresh dice. This duel I will venture more. Take this and all. I'll play in spite of luck.
Since you will needs, trip for the dice. I see it is hard to go a winner from this company.
The dice are mine. This diamond, I value it. 20 marks. I'll venture it at a throw.
'Tis set you.
Then at all. All's mine. Nay, Master Boyster, I bar you. Let us work upon the winners. Gramercy sinks. Nay, though I owe you no quarrel, yet you must give me leave to draw.
I had rather you should draw your sword than draw my money thus.
Again, sweet dice. Nay, I bar swearing, gentlemen. Let's play patiently. Well, this at the candlestick. So.
Chartley throws out.
Now, dice at all. Tutho, quoth the Spaniard.
It is precious luck.
Why, Via, I think 'tis quicksilver. It comes and goes so fast. There's life in this.
He passes all with trays.
With trays? How say by that? Oh, he's old dog at bowls and trays.
Lend me some money. Be my half one cast. I'll once outbrave this gamester with a throw. So now the dice are mine. Will be my half?
I will.
Then once I'll play the frank gamester. Let me but see how much you both can make, and I'll cast at all, every cross.
Now bless us all. What will you? Every cross?
I will not leave myself one cross to bless me.
I set.
So do I.
Why then, at all. How?
He flings out.
Nay, swear not. Let's play patiently.
Damn dice! Did ever gamester see the like?
Never, never.
Was ever known such casting?
Drunk or sober, I ne'er saw a man cast worse.
I'll prove this hat of mine and helmet. Which of you here dares say the contrary?
As fair an helmet as any man in Europe needs to wear.
Chartley, thy hat is black.
On better recollection, 'tis so indeed.
I say 'tis made of wool.
True, my losing had took away my senses, both of seeing and feeling. But better luck had brought them to their right temper. But come, a pox of dice. 'Tis time to give over.
All times are times for winners to give over, but not for them that lose. I'll play till midnight, but I will change my luck.
Come, you shall not. Give over. Tush, give over. Do, I pray, and choose the fortune of some other hour. Let's not, like debauched fellows, play our clothes, belts, rapiers, nor our needful ornaments. 'Tis childish, not becoming gentlemen. A play was at first ordained to pass the time, and, sir, you but abuse the use of play to employ it otherwise.
You may persuade me. For once, I'll leave a loser.
Come, then put on your helmet. Let's leave this abominable game and find out some better exercise. I cannot endure this chafing when men lose.
And there's not a more testy, waspish companion than thyself when thou art a loser. And yet thou must be vexing others with, play patiently, gentlemen, and let's have no swearing.
A sign that I can give good counsel better than take it. But say, where be the prettiest wenches, my hearts?
Well remembered. This puts me in mind of an appointment I had with a gentlewoman of some respect.
I have you, sir, I have you. But I think you will never have her. 'Tis Gratiana, the knight's daughter in Gracia Street. Have I touched you?
You have come somewhat near me, but touch me not. Master Haringfield, will you bear me company thither? Have you seen the gentlewoman, Master Chartley?
Never, sir.
How have you heard of her?
That she hath, as other women have, that she goes for a maid, as others do, etc.
I can assure you she is a proper gentlewoman.
Then if she have you, she is like to have a proper gentleman.
You should tell them so that know it not. Adieu, gentlemen.
Exeunt Sencer and Haringfield.
Oh, I'm glad they go so lightly away.
What will you do, Master Boyster?
Somewhat.
You will not acquaint me with your business?
No. I'm in love. My head is full of proclamations. There is a thing called a virgin. Nature hath showed her art in making her. Court her I cannot, but I'll do as I may.
Do you go or stay, sir?
Go.
Exit Boyster.
You before, I'll follow. He thinks, with his blunt humour, to enter as far as I with my sharp. No, my true Trojan, no, there is a fair, sweet, modest rogue. Her name is Luce. With this dandy prat, this pretty little ape's face is yon blunt fellow in love. And no marvel, for she hath a brow bewitching, eyes ravishing, and a tongue enchanting. And indeed she hath no fault in the world but one, and that is, she is honest. And were it not for that, she were the only sweet rogue in Christendom. As I live, I love her extremely, and to enjoy her would give anything, but the fool stands in her own light and will do nothing without marriage. But what should I do, marrying? Can better endure gyves than bands of matrimony. But in this meditation I am glad I have won my money again. Nay, and she may be glad of it too, for the girl is but poor, and in my pocket I have laid up a stock for her, which is put to use already. And if I meet not with a dice house or an ordinary, by the way, no question but I may increase it to a sum. Well, I'll unto the exchange to buy her some pretty novelty. That done, I'll visit my little rascal and solicit instantly.
And exit Chartley. So we've encountered some young chaps at play, gambling, all sorts of gambling stuff going on here. It feels quite a good depiction of gambling as well. You know, the people who just can't stop, the sort of escalation, the don't do it, walk away. Who's a good loser? Who's a bad loser? And then the person who's normally a bad loser because they happen to have won is sort of berating the others. You know, oh, you should go with some grace and go. Yeah. Remember what happened last week? So there's some really nice details in here. I mean, there's all those usual alarm bells of going, well, how this play ends is going to be very important to how much we enjoy the beginning. Yeah, there's always these slight worries that go in with some young chaps are going after some ladies. Sort of going, oh, this could go horribly wrong. Alan.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I just spotted that about a page or so back in the script, we've got Chartley with a line that she goes for a maid as others do, etc. I have come across that elsewhere, and I have a feeling that's the start of a song lyric.
Oh, well, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's a turn of phrase that exists as a commonplace that's quite rude, and therefore they don't print it, if that makes sense. I was wondering about that as well, about where that sentence is going, or whether, as to, whether it's something that they decided not to print but may have been performed. Lois.
Yeah, that's interesting, because etc. very often does mean that he goes on. And if he goes on with it, then it's probably either he's reciting something well known or he even sings.
Yeah. So that could be a clue. We can have a little hunt and see if we can find that. A different edition may have actually already interpolated additional words there. It's a good question as to where that's going. And as I say, I suspect it's a little rude and/or a commonplace, and therefore why waste space printing it? Type printing type is expensive. Paper is expensive. You don't want to waste it on something that everybody already knows. Other thoughts in the room? It's got real bounce to it, and it's got a nice energy to it all the way through. And even Chartley's quite long speech at the end, sort of bouncing along quite nicely. And there's it feels weirdly modern actually. It's we've been reading a lot of plays from the turn of the 16th into the 17th century. I mean, this definitely feels a bit later than some of the texts we've been reading. It has a slightly different energy to it, though that could be just projection. Other thoughts? Beyond, lots of potential here for good and for evil. Lois.
Yeah, I'm just feeling sorry for the 4 girls that these 4 guys are presumably going to end up marrying.
Well, we assume 4. We've been in situations where there's just the one, and the choice is not an innovating one to be made. Lynn, were you?
Oh, I got the impression that a couple of them were both in love with Luce, but we'll see how that.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the last 2 are both in love with Luce. Isn't that what Chartley just told us?
Yeah.
If
but
only
they
she
could still
wasn't
be 4
honest.
weddings. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of questions here on the practical level about actually precisely how the dice game functions, who's rolling when, who's winning where. I mean, it comes out clearly enough as you do it, but it's something we do need to note about going forward, is to making sure that action is nicely clear. All this stuff about thy hat is black.
Yeah.
There's got to be punning and stuff that's just lost to time.
I'll go to Lois, then
Beaver
Eric.
and wool, and
I'll go to Lois, then Eric, then Alan, then Aliki.
Yeah, I think the point of that, I mean, Chartley says he's trying to pick a quarrel with them. And I don't know if the idea is to have a fight so that he can somehow get his money back. I couldn't figure out quite how this is helping matters, but he seemed to, maybe they start betting on whether his hat is blood. They can't, because that's, this is the sort of thing I've read about, is people betting on the most trivial things and also fighting over the most trivial things. And that seems to be what's going on. But can anybody figure out how picking a quarrel with someone after you've lost in a gambling match could somehow help you get your money back?
No, I got nothing. Eric.
I was gonna say, totally. No, not from experience. I think also the idea there is that they're kind of, if you pick a fight with someone, then you can bet, if this cup is black, and it's dark. I don't know. I'm assuming because it's nighttime. That's when they would bet. I'm assuming. They'd kind of have a moment of it could be black, it could be dark blue, and then if you pick an argument, then you just escalate to stealing their money, beat them up, and run off. Maybe, I don't know. What I was gonna say was this whole thing about them being sort of in love with Luce or whatever. The attitude to marriage seems to be a bit like Captain Stukely, where it's like, oh, look, a pretty woman, I love her. Oh, okay, so you kind of as soon as marriage comes up is a bit I don't know. They want the flirtation and the lust part, but not the actual marriage part.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're young.
That they be.
Free spirits. Yeah.
That's the excuse, isn't it? Alan, then Aliki.
Yeah, I get the impression that this scene would possibly be best played with the lads at least half cut, because it had the feel of a somewhat drunken game going on.
I think having drunk, I don't think they should be drunk. I think they seem compos mentis. Though there might be a staggered level of drunkenness amongst them. One of them might be more drunk than the others. Because there is badinage going on here that's relatively complex. Aliki.
Don't have anything more to say. Lois and Eric between them said it.
Yeah, so we got some nice, period details as well, the kind of stuff that people don't always get. But we'll go onto the exchange, the Royal Exchange, where you can. There are various places you can get really quite fancy bits of kit going on there, if you so wished. An interesting question as to how much they're willing to spend on their wooing endeavours. What is the wooing budget of Chartley? Because we don't really. I mean, we've presumably they have a certain amount of means, but the question is, do they have? Are they living off their debts, or do they actually have expectations? The play may or may not give us more information on that. We will go on to Act 1, Scene 2. Enter Luce in a sempster's shop at work upon a laced handkerchief, and Joseph as well, a prentice.
Where's my father, Joseph?
Mistress above, and prays you to attend below a little.
I do not love to sit thus publicly, and yet upon the traffic of our wares, our provident eye and presence must still wait. Do you attend the shop? I'll ply my work. I see my father is not jealous of me, that trusts me to the open view of all. The reason is, he knows my thoughts are chaste, and my care such that if it needs the awe, it needs the awe of no strict overseer.
Enter Master Boyster.
Yonder's Luce. Save thee.
Sorry. And you too, sir, you are welcome. Want you aught, I pray, in which our trade may furnish you?
Oh, yes.
Joseph, show the gentleman.
'Tis here that I would buy.
What do you mean, sir? What is it you lack? I pray you, wherefore do you fix your eyes so firmly on my face? What would you have?
Thee.
Me?
Yes, thee.
Your pleasure is to jest, and so I take it. Pray give me leave, sir, to intend my work.
You are fair.
You flout me.
You are. Go to, you are. I'd vex him that should say the contrary.
Well, you may say your pleasure.
I love thee.
Oh, sir.
As I live, I do.
Now, as I am a true maid, the most religious oath that I dare swear, I hold myself indebted to your love, and am sorry there remains in me no power how to requite it.
Oh, love me. Prithee now, do it if thou canst.
I cannot.
Oh, prithee, if thou canst.
Indeed, I cannot.
Yet ask thine heart and see what may be done.
In troth, I am sorry you should spend a sigh for my sake unrequited, or a tear, aye, or a word.
'Tis no matter for my words. They are not many, and those not very wise ones neither.
Yet I beseech you send no more in vain. I scorn you not. Disdain's as far from me as are the two poles distant. Therefore, sir, because I would not hold you in suspense, but tell you what at first to trust unto, thus in a word, I must not fancy you.
Must not?
I cannot, sir, nor I may not.
I'm gone. Thou hast given me, Luce, a bone to gnaw upon.
Exit Boyster.
Alas, that beauty should be so sought of more than can enjoy it. Might I have my wish, I would seem fair, but only in his eye that should possess me in a nuptial tie.
Before we go on with this scene, I think I do feel for Boyster on the whole. He's trying and he doesn't. I mean, it's just like yes, I love you. It's so awkward. But also to his credit, she says go away, and he does. I mean, she gives a very clear answer, and he leaves. I mean, and he tried.
Yeah.
Not very well, but he tried. Lynn.
But he says you gave me a bone to gnaw on, so I'm going to go torture myself about my unrequited love. I'm not going to give it up and move on.
Well, he may mean that he's trying to work out why she said that she must not, cannot, and may not. but she hasn't actually said will not and do not, you know.
Yes, I mean it could still go horribly wrong as ever with these plays, but you know, I'm being hopeful here. You know that it's just, but it is a very nicely observed scene. I do like that. It's just she's in full Selly mode, and it's just like, I want to fight for you. For me, what? Hang on, this is not how this works. Exchange of goods and services. No, Eric.
Yeah, I did like that sort of I'm not for sale, dude moment. But what I find interesting is that it made me wonder how old the people in this are meant to be, because I mean, okay, they're young gentlemen, but like this is kind of like the young boy type flirtation where it's like, I love you, marry me, and it's like I'm 5 years old or something, or I don't know, even 10 or 11 or whatever. But then it's not like sort of the whole sophisticated you are the most beautiful, I don't know, Helen of Troy could not compare kind of thing. So yeah, I'm assuming this is a boys' company where you've got different ages, or not?
Well,
or not.
I have no I don't immediately see any designation of the company. I could be wrong, but no idea. So yeah. But it might be a bit late for the companies that we've been talking about. So I don't know. Lynn, then Aliki.
He reminds me a little of Christian in the balcony scene in Cyrano de Bergerac. Yes, I know you love me. Only in that case, Roxanne is expecting to be wooed poetically. That's part. She wants to play that game and act that script, and Christian just doesn't have the stuff, although he's sincere enough, but yeah, so poor guy, he's kind of failing on two levels. The fact that he doesn't want to marry her, his courtship doesn't seem to be tending that way, and he's also just bad at
And it's also we got the way, because Luce doesn't want to be sitting in the shop window as well. I mean, she makes that, and we've been here before actually with other plays where this basically expectation to be accosted by young gentlemen to do this, and is that the reason why father is putting her in the window of the shop? There's all those sort of questions. But then Luce's 4 lines at the end of this little exchange is really interesting, because there's a hint of a humble brag in there. But there is also a very pragmatic thing. I only really would like to be accosted by the person I'm actually going to marry. That would be nice, and which is a very reasonable point. Aliki.
2 things. One is I wonder if it's going to be different styles of courtship of her that we see rather than different ages. And the other is there a class component here? Is this about, we're not going to marry a shopkeeper's daughter because we're young gentlemen, but we'll certainly try and have our wicked way with her for trinkets or our pretty eyes or whatever it is.
Yeah, Chartley basically says that.
But yes, it may be that they each have a slightly different series of intentions, slightly different class, slightly different opening gambits. Let us find out, because the scene continues. Luce has remained on stage. Enter young Master Chartley, who's had that little scenette off to catch his breath. He enters with gloves, ring, purse, etc.
Morrow, Luce, in exchange of this kiss, see what I have brought thee from the exchange.
What mean you, sir, by this?
Yes, that by the circumstance. Here's a ring, wear it for my sake. 20 angels. Pocket them, you fool. Come, I know thou art a maid. Say nay and take from me.
Sweet Master Chartley, do not fasten on me more than with ease I can shake off. Your gift I reverence, yet refuse. And I pray, tell me, why do you make so many errands hither, send me so many letters, fasten on me so many favors? What's your meaning in it?
Hark, in thine ear, I'll tell thee. Hear me out. Is't possible so soft a body should have so hard a soul? Nay, now I know my penance. You will be angry and school me for tempting your modesty. Fig for this modesty. It hinders many a good man from many a good turn, and that's all the good it doth. If thou but knewst it, Luce, how I love thee, thou wouldst be far more tractable. Nay, I bar chiding when you speak. I'll stop thy lips if thou dost but offer an angry word. By this hand I'll do it, and with this hand too. Go to now, what say you?
Sir, if you love me, as you say you do, show me the fruits thereof.
The stock I can, thou mayest see the fruits hereafter.
Can I believe you love me when you seek the shipwreck of mine honor?
Honor. There's another word to flap in a man's mouth. Honor. What shouldst thou and I stand upon our honor, that we are neither of us yet right worshipful?
I am sorry, sir, I have lent so large an ear to such a bad discourse, and I protest, after this hour, never to do the like. I must confess, of all the gentlemen that ever courted me, you have possessed the best part of my thoughts, but this coarse language exiles you quite from thence. Sir, had you come, instead of changing this mine honest name into a strumpet's, to have honored me with the chaste title of a modest wife, I had reserved an ear for all your suits. But since I see your rudeness finds no limit, I leave you to your lust.
You shall not lose.
Then keep your tongue within more moderate bounds.
I will, as I am virtuous, I will. I told you the second word would be marriage. It makes a man forfeit his freedom and makes him walk ever after with a chain at his heels or a jackanapes hanging at his elbow. Marriage is like Daedalus in his labyrinth, and being once in there's no finding the way out. Well, I love this little property most intolerably, and I must set her on the last, though it costs me all the shoes in my shop. Well, Luce, thou seest my stomach is come down. Thou hast my heart already. There's my hand.
But in what way?
Nay, I know not the way yet, but I hope to find it hereafter by your good direction.
I mean, in what manner? In what way?
In the way of marriage, in the way of honesty, in the way that was never gone yet. Hope thou art a maid, Luce.
Yes, sir, and I accept it. In exchange of this your hand, you shall receive my heart.
A bargain. And there's earnest on thy lips.
I'll call my father, sir, to witness it. See, here he comes.
Right, enter her father, a plain citizen.
Father, save you, you have happened of an untoward son-in-law. Here I am. How do you like me?
Sir, I was nearer than you were aware, and overheard both sum and circumstance.
Then I perceive you are an old eavesdropper. But what do you think of it, Father?
I entertain the motion with all love. Rejoice my daughter is preferred and raised to such a match. I heard the contract, and will confirm it gladly. But pray, sir, when shall the merry day be?
Marry even tomorrow, by that we can see. Nay, we'll lose no more time. I'll take order for that.
Stay but a month.
A month? Thou canst not hire me to't. Why, Luce, if thou beest hungry, canst thou stay a month from meat? Nay, if I see my diet before me, I love to fall to when I have a stomach. Here, buy thee a new smock. Let's have a new bed too. And look it be strong. There's a box of rings and jewels, lay them up. Sirrah, methinks the very name of wedlock hath brought me to a nightcap already, and I am grown civil on the sudden. There's more money for dishes, platters, ladies, candlesticks, etc., as I shall find them set down in the inventory.
Whom shall we invite to the wedding?
Enter second Luce, a young country gentlewoman in the habit of a page, and overhears their discourse.
Aye, thereby hangs a tale. We'll have no more at our marriage but myself. To say, I take thee, Luce, thou to say, I, Luce, take thee, Robin, the vicar to put us together, and you, father, to play the clerk and cry, Amen.
Your reason for that?
I would not for a world it should be known to my friends, or come to my father's ear. It may be 10,000 pounds out of my way for the present. Therefore, this is my conceit. Let us be married privately, and Luce shall live like a maid still, and bear the name. 'Tis nothing, Luce, 'tis a common thing in this age to go for a maid and be none. I'll frequent the house secretly. Fear not, girl, though I revel abroad a days, I'll be with thee to bring a night's my little whittling mop.
But so I may incur a public scandal by your so oft frequenting my chamber.
Scandal? What scandal? Why, to stop the mouth of all scandal, after some few days done, I appear in my likeness, married man and honest housekeeper, and then what becomes of your scandal? Come, send for Mr. Vicar, and what we do, let's do suddenly.
Old comfort for me.
If you purpose to be so privately married, I know one excellent at such an exploit. Are you not acquainted with the Wise-Woman of Hogsdon?
Oh, the witch, the beldam, the hag of Hogsdon.
The same, but I hold her to be of no such condition. I will anon take a step thither and punctually acquaint her with all our proceedings. She is never without a Sir John at her elbow, ready for such a stratagem.
Well, be it so then.
And exeunt the father Luce and Chartley, leaving the mysterious second Luce to speak to the audience.
Hey ho! Have I disguised myself and stolen out of the country thus far, and can light of no better news to entertain me? Ah, this wild-headed, wicked Chartley, whom nothing will tame. To this gallant was I, poor gentlewoman, betrothed, and the marriage day appointed. But he, out of a fantastic and giddy humour, before the time prefixed, posts up to London. After him come I thus habited, and you see my welcome, to be an ear witness of his second contracting. Modesty would not suffer me to discover myself, otherwise I should have gone near to have marred the match. I heard them talk of Hogsdon, and a wise woman, where these aims shall be brought to action. I'll see if I can insinuate myself into her service. That's my next project. And now, good luck of my side.
Exeunt second Luce. End of Act 1. Da, 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 da. Okay, didn't see that coming. That's a really nice bit of business, especially after this sort of tour de force scene from Chartley, where you're kind of thinking, that actor's got to be good to pull that whole scene off, because, I mean, there's a moment where he says, "Hark in thy ear, I'll tell thee." Pause, presumably while he whispers. I'm just thinking, there's a slap in there, isn't there? Or something in that moment, Nay, hear me out. Is it possible so soft a body should have so hard a soul? There's a response there, and I think it could be a knee in another area of anatomy, but there's all sorts of things. It's interesting when he's pretending to be virtuous. He can be moderately convincing, but he just turns up and says, "Hi, would you like some money?" I have now purchased you, have I not? It's really, really quite vile. And then the father comes in, and just goes, "All right, cool." And it's like the play isn't really interested in just anything beyond the setup. I don't think it's really interested in why some of these things come to pass. It's just let's set up the bit so that we can have the reveal of the second Luce. Anyway, Lois, then Alan, and I'm sure lots of other people.
Yeah. Well, one thing that struck me in Chartley's scene is that there are quite a lot of references to physicality. I mean, that bit about her soft body and harken thine ear. He's obviously very close to her and touching her, whereas I don't think Boyster got within about 3, 4, 6 feet of her by the sound of it. And I think that has a lot to do with her preferring Chartley.
Oh yeah, and they have some sort of a prior relationship in the sense that, you know, they're not complete strangers and things. But yes, I like that point about, Boyster. I don't think it would pluck up the courage to get within half a mile of her. It's literally, he'd be waving from a distance going, "I love you." Whereas Chartley's straight in there, isn't he? Alan, then Aliki.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing I found slightly odd with the way the stage directions are in it, and I know we always have this issue with whether the stage directions in the printed version were actually anything like what happened, is that you've got the apprentice who seems to be loitering around for much of the wooing scene, and then the father who is there during that latter part, but making no comment whatsoever. And you're wondering, is he deaf, daft, or totally incompetent?
Well, what I feel there is that Joseph probably leaves at some point to fetch the father. I mean, that seems like a plausible inference, because then the father has a reason to be listening because he's listening in, and that we can infer, certainly for a stage production, I would sort of infer some business there, because, you know, it would make sense that Joseph is about. I think there's a reason why he's there, which is, you know, to keep an eye on Luce and make sure that, you know, the issues do not arise. So that would sort of make sense. I also, again, we got another etc., and this is presumably Chartley can keep going with his dishes, platters, ladles, candlesticks, etc., for as long as he can think of additional things that you can buy, however many coins he's got in his purse, basically, isn't it? Aliki, then Lynn.
So I'm enjoying this quite a lot so far, and I'm going to say in Chartley's defense, and maybe that's just because I was reading him, that at least he treats her as an intelligent person. It's not just that the other fellow is tongue-tied. He's also just like, "You're pretty, therefore I love you." He doesn't think beyond her attractiveness, whereas Chartley is playing word games with her and pleased to get back as good as he gave.
Well, at least he's a witty bigamist, isn't that lovely? Lynn.
Yeah, so structurally this is unusual for a kind of on the new comedy model, and typically in erotic comedy, when we've got rivalries and competitions and whatever, blocking to relationships, it's usually the young woman who gets what she wants. The man may waffle a little bit, but it shakes out that it's the ingenue's the choice that satisfied, oddly enough, in a cultural artifacts produced in a misogynistic culture. Anyway, but like, who's the ingenue here? We think that it's Luce, because she's the honeypot. More than one person is interested in her. She says, of all the men that come to woo me, and you get the feeling it's more than just Boyster and Chartley. You're my favorite. I think most favorably of you. So it's sent us all this signals that eventually Luce number 1 is going to get her man, and then Luce number 2 shows up. Turns out she's a prior contract, which rarely gets violated in these comedies. She's closer to his social equal, which matters. She's the girl dressed as a boy. That's sort of a signal that she's the one that we're going to end up focusing on. So who's he going to end up with, and what happens with Luce number 1 if he ends up marrying Luce number 2? So it's definitely playing with our expectations in a really interesting way.
And because it's Heywood, it's episodic. I mean, not wholly episodic in this sense, but what we've got is a really punchy first episode here, haven't we? We've ended on a sort of a cliffhanger. There's this sudden revelation, but it's also set up the next act. It's set up the Wisewoman, so we know where that's going. So we've got essentially a slightly new set of action that we're going to dive into in a moment. Sarah.
Yes, sorry, I'm taking everybody off onto another track now, although it might be related to what Lynn just said. I have a question about this phrase. Though it costs me all the shoes in my shop. Is that a phrase that was in kind of in use? Like, oh, I'll marry her, though it costs me all the shoes in my shop. Because when I first read it, I took it literally, and I'm like, oh, is he a shoemaker? But then the way he talks, he seems to be a gentleman. So then I'm wondering, is that just a phrase that people used, or what is going on basically there? I'm not sure.
Lois.
Yeah, well, I wondered too, because I think I must set her on the last is a pun, isn't it? I mean, I forget what the last is in shoemaking, but
yeah, it is a shoemaking term, though, isn't it? Is it the sole or the? No, it's the thing that they build it on, isn't it? I think.
So I must set her on the last. Though, I mean, I think the whole thing is a metaphor, in other words, but I'm not even sure what he's saying. Whether he's saying I've got to have her, just sexually, whatever it cost me. But I'm not sure if he's actually saying I'm willing to marry her. Actually, another point, since we've got marriages like Daedalus, his labyrinth, that use of his there, that's the result of a kind of misunderstanding of the old English genitive, which is, like the German one. It's just puts an S or ES after a word to mean of something later on, because people thought this didn't make sense. They assumed it was an abbreviation of his. And so they sometimes write it like that, Daedalus. I mean, it really ought just to be Daedalus's, apostrophe S. And it's the reason we have this rather ridiculous apostrophe. In fact, we don't really need it, except that we've lost track of the genitive case.
Yeah, and now my students use an apostrophe to form plurals, and it makes me want to kick a puppy. Sorry.
But we're sort of stuck with this stupid historical anomaly anyway. I mean, I don't know if we can ever get rid of it.
Eric.
I was just going to go back to the storyline, back to the drawing board. No. I was curious about that too, but I thought maybe it was a typo, as in like shoes in thy shop, as in like, take her for all she's got kind of thing. But I don't know, maybe that was just a sort of weird placement of an aside or something. What I'm wondering is whether Luce #2 is going to because it's interesting that you've got this solidarity already, or suggested solidarity, I guess, where you've got she doesn't seem to be jealous of the fact that he found a prettier model or something to marry or whatever. It's just that actually the fact that he betrayed the contract that he made in the first place. Of course, we don't know if this is actually this is just me, my headcanon at the moment. And I don't know, that just interested me. Also, I was wondering whether time-wise this sits next to the Night of the Burning Pestle, because it seems like that kind of story.
It's almost certainly post, but so it may be an influence on that. I doubt it's earlier. What was I going to say? I don't see any indication that anyone here is a cobbler, so I suspect it's proverbial. But I could be wrong on that front. It does seem that we've got gentlemen. We've obviously got a goldsmith, but I don't really see anything else going on there. So Aliki, then Lynn, then we will move on to Act 2.
Okay, we've had young men disguised as shoemakers before, who are not shoemakers. If upon this the last is a sexual pun, it's a really filthy one, because the last is the mold kind of thing on which you build the shoe, and it's extremely dehumanizing for the woman. But also possibly it could mean I must work on her. It will need, more craftsmanship to get what I want out of her, which, while still objectionable, is less unpleasant.
All still very much within the character form of the person. Lynn.
Yeah, well, I Googled, though it cost me all the shoes in my shop and I got nothing. So it might, if it was proverbial, it wasn't very common. I've certainly never heard it, and I don't think Lois has either.
No.
Complete conjecture that this play was closely contemporaneous with the Shoemaker's Holiday, so that it's a reference to that. Maybe he's playing that actor was also playing a character in Shoemaker's Holiday. So those plays are it's sort of a sly little in-joke.
I think it's probably influenced by the Shoemaker's Holiday. I mean, that certainly has a scene of a woman in a shop and people wooing her. Although, of course, that you also get that in Edward IV, which is by Heywood. I mean, in fact, you get it all over the place. But it could be influenced by the Shoemaker's Holiday, because there is a lot in there about measuring people's feet for shoes and so on.
Yes,
maybe thinking that.
And that definitely precedes this text. So that, yes, it's perfectly reasonable. And I don't know how long it may have been in rep for, or how its influence spreads. So there's just because it may be contemporaneous, even if it's an old play, if that makes sense. But it may also not. Anyway, let's go into Act 2 and let us meet the Wise Woman. Act 2, Scene 1. Enter the Wise Woman and her clients. A countryman with a urinal. In the context of this, that's would just be a bottle, presumably full of his urine, or whoever he is on the bringing the urine from, rather than saying he hasn't ripped one off the wall or anything. It's fine. 4 women like citizens' wives, Tabor a serving man, and a chambermaid.
Fie, what a toil and a moil it is for a woman to be wiser than all her neighbours. I pray, good people, rest not too fast upon me. Though I have 2 ears, I can hear but one at once. You, with the urinal.
Enter second Luce, who stands aside, watching presumably all this action.
Yeah, forsooth, mistress.
And who distilled this water?
My wife's Limbeck, if it please you.
And where does the pain hold her most?
Marry, at her heart, forsooth.
Aye, at her heart. She hath a griping at her heart?
You've hit it right.
Nay, I can see so much in the urine.
Just so much as is told her.
Head, hath she?
No, indeed. I never heard her complain of her head.
I told you so. Her pain lies all in her heart. Alas, good heart. So, how feels she her stomach?
Oh, queasy and sick at stomach.
I warrant you. I think I can see as far into a millstone as another. You have heard of Mother Nottingham, who, for her time, was prettily well skilled in casting of waters, and after her, Mother Bombay, and then there's one Hatfield in Pepper Alley. He doth pretty well for a thing that's lost. There's another in Cold Harbour that's skilled in the planets. Mother Sturton in Golden Lane is for forespeaking. Mother Phillips at the Bankside for the weakness of the back. And then there's a very reverent matron on Clerkenwell Green, good at many things. Mistress Mary on the Bankside is for erecting a figure. And one, what do you call her, in Westminster, that practiseth the book and the key, and the sieve, and the shears. And all do well, according to their talent. For myself, let the world speak. Hark you, my friend, you shall take.
'Tis strange the ignorant should be thus fooled. What can this witch, this wizard, or old trot do by enchantment or by magic spell? Such as profess that art should be deep scholars. What reading can this simple woman have. 'Tis palpable gross foolery.
And we infer that the gentle countryman has exited around this point.
Now, friend, your business?
I'm stolen out of my master's house, forsooth, with the kitchen maid, and I'm come to know of you whether it be my fortune to have her or not.
And what's your suit, lady?
Yes, you.
I thought it was chambermaid, not kitchen maid. Forsooth, I come to know whether I be a maid or no.
Why art thou in doubt of that?
It may be I have more reason than all the world knows.
Nay, if thou comest to know whether thou beest a maid or no, I had best ask to know whether I be with child or no.
Withdraw into the parlour there. I'll but talk with this other gentlewoman, and I'll resolve you presently.
Come, Cicely, if she cannot resolve thee, I can, and in the case of a maidenhead, do more than she, I warrant thee.
Exeunt Tabor and kitchen maid.
Forsooth, I am bold, as they say.
You are welcome, gentlewoman.
I would not have it known to my neighbors that I come to a wise woman for anything, by my truly.
Oh, for sure, should your husband come and find you here?
A husband, woman, I am a widow.
Where are my brains? 'Tis true, you are a widow, and you dwell, let me see. I can never remember that place.
In Kent Street.
Street. Oh, Kent Street. And I could tell you wherefore you come.
Why, and say true.
Oh, you are a wag. You are a wag. Why? What do you think now I would say?
Perhaps to know how many husbands I should have.
And if I should say so, should I say a miss?
I think you are a witch.
Oh, in. I'll but read a little of Ptolemy and Erapater, and when I have cast a figure, up to you presently.
Exit the woman.
Now, wag, what wouldst thou have?
If this were a wise woman, she could tell that without asking. Now methinks I should come to know whether I were a boy or a girl. Forsooth, I lack a service.
By my fidelity, and I want a good trusty lad.
Now could I sigh and say, alas, this is some bored trade fallen, and out of her wicked experience has come to be reputed wise. I'll serve her, be it but to pry into the mystery of her science.
A proper stripling, and a wise, I warrant him. Here's a penny for thee. I'll hire thee for a year by the statute of Winchester. Prove true and honest, and thou shalt want nothing but a good boy.
Here, wise woman, you are out again. I shall want what a good boy should have whilst I live. Well, here I shall live both unknown and my sex unsuspected. But whom have we here?
But we'll pause before we find out who we have here, because I think there's a lot to... That's some excellent, really terrible cold reading from the Wise Woman. It begins with a J-A-P-Z-N-O-A-K. Kent, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's delightfully bad. I'm really curious about the kitchen maid who wants to know whether they're a maid or no. I love the logic of that, and actually just the fact the wise woman's not sure how to deal with this one either.
Just go in, love. I'll get to you later.
Yeah, I need some thinking time. Go into the other room with that man who may resolve the issue in a slightly different way. I mean, There's some, but second, Luce, who only seems to talk in asides. I mean, almost nothing to actual people, is delightful here. I'm liking all of this stuff. There's some really interesting things going on here. Lynn,
Again, my expectations are being thwarted or undermined. The play is called The Wise-Woman of Hogsdon, although titles for performance pieces weren't all that important pre-publication. And she's a charlatan. She's a fake. And I did not expect that. I expected her to actually have some kind of wisdom or supernatural power, and that's going to help resolve the plot. You know, she's got a love potion that makes, or an anti-love potion that makes Chartley fall out of love with Versus or whatever. But no, she's a fake. So I'm just really, I'm really wrong-footed by this, which is quite interesting.
Well, I think she may live in that long line of wise women who, going back to Dame Sirif, going via Celestina, who, yes, they're fakes, but they also get stuff done. Yeah, she's not going to use actual magic, but will use headology to make things move. So yeah, it's really interesting stuff. And yeah, there's more to come. But Lois.
Yeah, it's very unlike Mother Bombay, who's referred to here, who actually is a wise woman. I mean, she's not the only nice character in that play, really. And she does keep getting things right, although people don't believe her at the time.
Yes, much more in the sort of Cassandra vein. Yeah, and I do wonder, because we have this list of other wise women and things, of whom I assume there's a mixture of literary references and other things going on there that I can't unpack at this time. But there may be all sorts of in-jokes and references that we're not getting, even with our extensive knowledge of early modern drama. You know, if you know any of those references at home, do throw something in the comments section. Go on. That's what it's for. Alan.
I'm just wondering whether there's a sort of character link here with between the wise woman and what has turned up in some of the earlier dramas that we've had of the midwife. You know, the older woman in the village or the community who knows all the secrets. Often speaks in somewhat gnomic fashion, but you know, there seems to be we had a run of those in the Terence plays we had a look at a while ago.
Yeah, and you know, and if you know, for the time period as well, you know, it's not necessarily great value to be a wise woman, because you know we are increasingly moving towards the whole witch trial thing as an increasing phase. So, but we're reasonably pre that in terms of numbers. Anyway, Eric.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this dialogue of like, just the paper kitchen-maid wise woman interaction was so weird and unexpected. That was it's like go to this other room anyway. What I find interesting also is that it's kind of that thing of like with Grimm the Collier. I can't say this. Grimm the Collier of Croydon, or those kind of plays where you've got, or like Sir Giles Goosecap, where you've got like the main character is not the named title character is not actually the most important character in the play, because you're much more invested in like what's going to happen with Luce and other Luce. So yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see what happens.
Yeah, it is a question of how much stage time will the wise woman actually get. We shall see. Any other thoughts before we move on, Sarah?
It's kind of a continuation of what other people have been saying, but also if she is an ex-board, she probably will have some like proper, sane, useful knowledge about stuff like childbirth, and contraception, such as it was, you know, and she probably will have a lot of actually quite useful knowledge of the sort that you wouldn't necessarily, you know, go to an apothecary to, or you wouldn't want to go to anybody else to get that knowledge. So she could be like basically what you were saying earlier, Rob. She could actually be a wise woman in many ways, and she's, you know, she could certainly be a wise woman in that she has like buckets of common sense, and as you said, knows how to get stuff done. And if she's been running a brothel for like 20 years, you know, in a previous life, then she probably will have an awful lot of practical information that actually underpins all then all the skullduggery that goes on top. Excuse me.
Lynn.
Yeah, sometimes people with, I think there are people who are genuinely intuitive and they like deeply intuitive and they seem like they have a sixth sense. And for some people, they can hear that and follow that rather than, somebody who's an establishment healthcare professional. I mean, I have a friend who went to a psychic, and the psychic said, I feel like when you drink, that blocks the energy that the universe is trying to get through to you. And my friend could hear that in a way that a counseling psychologist saying, I think you need to rethink your relationship with alcohol would not have registered with her. So, the wise woman could be that kind of person. Like, she's doesn't really have any supernatural gifts, but she's very smart. She's very people smart. She's very intuitive. And so insightful in a way that even she's not aware of, that it almost seems supernatural.
Okay, we're going to continue the scene because we paused as people were going to come on stage. Eric, I'm going to ask you to read Haringfield as well as your other parts. I think it's fine. You do technically talk almost after yourself, but I don't think you talk to yourself, so I think you're okay. It was Sarah earlier, but Sarah's the wise woman, so we can't. It'll be all very confusing. So enter Master Haringfield and Chartley, half drunk.
Come, Haringfield. Now we have been drinking of Mother Redcap's ale. Let us go and make some sport with the wise woman.
We shall be thought very wise men of all, such as see us go into the wise woman's.
Here she is. How now, witch? How now, hag? How now, beldam? You're the wise woman, are you? And have wit to keep yourself warm enough, I warrant you.
Knave.
And will these wild oats never be sown?
You enchantress, sorceress, she-devil, you Madam Hecate, Lady Proserpine, you're told you hang now for conjuring up spirits yourself. But you keep pretty young witches under your roof that can do that.
Spirits. Oh, I defy thee. Brained.
Forbear him till he have his senses about him, and I shall then hold thee for a wise woman indeed. Otherwise I shall doubt thou hast thy name for nothing. Come, friend, away, if thou lovest me.
Away, you old dromedary. I'll come one of these nights and make a racket amongst your sheep caterwaulers.
I prithee, let's be civil.
Out of my sight, thou she-mastiff.
And exit Haringfield and the charming Chartley.
Patience, sweet mistress.
Now, bless me. He hath put me into such a fear as makes all my bones to dance and rattle in my skin. I will be revenged on that swaggering companion.
Mistress, I wish you would. He's a mere madcap. All his delight is in misusing such reverent matrons as yourself.
Well, what's thy name, boy?
I am even little better than a turn brooch, for my name is Jack.
Honest Jack. If thou couldst but devise how I might cry quittance with this cutting dick, I will go near to adopt thee, my son and heir.
Mistress, there is a way, and this it is. Tomorrow morning doth this gentleman intend to marry with one Mistress Luce, a goldsmith's daughter. Do you know the maid?
My daughter, and a pretty smug-faced girl. I had a note but late from her. She means to be with me in the evening, for I have bespoke Sir Boniface to marry her in the morning.
Do but prevent this gallant of his wife, and then your wrong shall be revenged at full.
I'll do it, as I am matron, aye, and show him a new trick for his learning.
Enter Master Boyster.
Morrow,
Welcome, sir.
art wise?
He should be wise because he speaks few words.
I am as I am. There's an end.
Canst conjure?
Oh, that's a foul word. But I can tell you your fortune, as they say. I have some little skill in palmistry, but never had to do with the devil.
And had the devil never anything to do with thee? Thou looks somewhat like his dam. Look on me. Canst tell what I ail?
Can you tell yourself? I should guess you be mad or not well in your wits.
Thou art wise. I am so. Men being in love are mad, and I, being in love, am so.
Nay, if I see your complexion once, I think I can guess as near another.
One Mistress Luce I love. Knowest thou her, Granham?
As well as the beggar knows his dish. Why, she's one of my daughters.
Make her my wife. I'll give thee 40 pieces.
Take them, mistress, to be revenged on Chartley.
Bargain. Strike me luck. Cease all your sorrow. Fair Luce shall be your bride betimes tomorrow.
Thou art a good Granham, and but that thy teeth stand like hedge stakes in thy head, I'd kiss thee.
Exit, Master Best. Boyster. Oh, God.
Pray, will you in? Hither, Jack. I have a new trick come into my head. Wilt thou assist me in it?
If it concern the crossing of the marriage with Mistress Luce, I'll do it, whate'er it be.
Thou shall be tired like a woman. Can you make a curtsy, take small strides, simper, and seem modest? Methinks thou hast a woman's voice already.
Doubt not of me. I'll act them naturally.
I have conceited to have Luce married to this blunt gentleman, she mistaking him for Chartley, and Chartley shall marry thee, being a boy, and take thee for Luce. Will not be excellent.
Oh, super! Super excellent.
Play but thy part, as I'll act mine. I'll fit him with a wife, I warrant him.
And a wife, I'll warrant him.
Exeunt, Wisewoman and Luce, and yeah, it's setting up nice things. I'm looking forward to a scene where the Wisewoman explains to Luce how to behave like a lady. I'm hoping we get that scene. Yeah, there's lots of nice setting up here. Boyster. I mean, there's this privileged chaps going to meet one of the working class, and some of them have better approaches than others, shall we say? Yeah, and the way the wise woman is very wise in the sense of she doesn't do witchcraft. I mean, she's making that really clear. Oh, I do a dabble of these harmless things, but I do not do witchcraft because, you know, it's a genuine threat. It's a genuine threat of the period. So yeah, and so there are plots within plots and wheels within wheels. I am liking this. I'm liking this. Eric.
This is reminding me a bit of Panto, sort of like that sort of, you know, principal boy kind of thing where you've got, but then obviously Luce is a man dressed as a woman, dressed as a man, dressed as a woman, which is not going to get complicated at all. It's just sort of, yeah. I just love this plot point of like, yes, I have this brilliant idea. You will dress up as a woman. And it's just sort of, I mean, yeah, it is very Panto-esque in my mind now.
Aliki.
We've said this before, but let's say it again. Second Luce is just a delight. And will these wild oats never be sown? What a wonderful line.
Lynn.
Yeah, I don't know why she wants to marry Chartley. Because it's a comedy. So the device of Chartley comes in and just acts like an ass and basically fucks around and is about to find out. You know, lucky for second Luce, it's like he screws himself by pissing off the wise woman. So, and the whole thing is like, you pretend to be a woman. Who, me? Very funny. I just hope that Luce #1, the merchant's daughter, the goldsmith's daughter, doesn't end up being tricked into marrying Boyster. Unless, I mean, I think in production you could make Boyster more desirable. You could make him like very handsome and very sincere. He's just very love you. So you know, you would have to do some work to make that match one that the audience didn't object to. So I'm really curious how that shakes out.
I think Boyster is frankly the easier match in the sense that, you know, he seems fairly harmless actually, whereas I wouldn't want to be married to Chartley at all. I mean, you know, obviously we have breach of promise. You know, potentially, you know, obviously some activities may have occurred. Have gone on there. For all we know, she might actually be pregnant. You know, there are good social reasons why second Luce is wanting to tie this deal, and also he's got money. To be really, really, you know. Mercenary about it. It's a harsh world out there, and you know, society is cruel. So yeah, lots of incentives there, regardless whether she likes him or not. And I hope she makes his life hell. Eric.
I was just wondering about, because like earlier in the script, I think it was first Luce who mentioned it about the wise woman. She said something like, the wise woman has lots of Sir Johns hanging around her, and I was just wondering if that means like sort of boy toys, or is that sort of like, I mean, like, you know, guys to run errands, that kind of thing, or just sort of because it seems a bit like sort of in other plays we found Sir Johns that are just priests who also dabble in non-priestly things, like having sex with their congregation or something.
You might be right. Yeah, I mean, Sir John generally does mean a priest. I mean, they're referred to as Sir John because you automatically get that title, I think, as a clergyman, but or at least they give it to you. But it could well be that it's also used ironically. Yeah.
Anyway, we have another scene to explore before we finish Act 2. What sudden reveal will occur at the end of Act 2? I mean, I'm eager with anticipation. Act 2, Scene 2. Enter old Sir Harry. And as met earlier, his man Tabor.
And I'm old Sir Harry.
I don't think there's a young Sir Harry.
Okay, right. Then thou sawest them whispering with my daughter.
I saw them, if it shall please you, not whisper, but
how then, thou knave?
Marry, Sir Knight, I saw them in sad talk, but to say they were directly whispering, I'm not able.
Why, Tabor, that sad talk was whispering.
Nay, they did not greatly whisper, for I heard what was said, and what was said I have the wit to keep to myself.
Well, what said the unthrift, Tabor? Tell me, knave. Tell me, good knave, what did the unthrift say?
I'm loath to be called in question about men and women's matters, but as soon as he ever saw your daughter, I heard what was spoke.
Here, Sarah, take thy quarter's wages aforehand, and tell me all their words, and what their greeting was at their first encounter. Hold thine hand.
Thanks, noble sir. Now I'll tell you. Your daughter being walking to take the air of the fields, and I before her. Whom should we meet just in the nick?
Just in the nick, man?
In the highway, I meant, sir.
And what conference passed between them, Tabor?
As well as my pipe can utter, you shall know, sir. This gentleman meeting with my young mistress full butt. I imagine you or she, and I young master Sencer. Now, there you come, and here I meet you. He comes in this manner and puts off his hat in this fashion.
But what said he?
Be with you, fair gentlewoman, and so goes quite a way, and scarce so much as once looked back, and if this were language to offer a young lady, judge you.
But spake he nothing else?
Nothing as I am true.
Why, man, all this was nothing.
Yes, sir, it was as much as my quarter's wages forehand.
Enter Master Sencer, Master Haringfield, and Gratiana.
Here are two gentlemen with great desire crave conference with my father. Here he is. Now, gallants, you may freely speak your minds.
Save you, sir. My name is Sencer. I am a Northamptonshire gentleman, born to £1,000 land by the year. I love your daughter, and I am come to crave your goodwill.
Have you my daughters that you covet mine?
No, sir, but I hope in time I shall have.
So hope not I, sir. Sir, my daughter is young, and you a gentleman unknown. Sencer. Sencer. Oh, sir, your name I now remember well. 'Tis ranked mongst unthrifts, dicers, swaggerers, and drunkards. Were not you brought before me some months since for beating of the watch? By the same token, I sent you to the counter.
I confess myself to have been in that action, but note the cause, sir. You could not have pleasured me so much in giving me a piece of gold as at the same time to help me to that counter.
Why, sir, what cause had you to beat the watch and raise a midnight tumult in the streets?
Nay, but hear me, sweet Sir Harry. Being somewhat late at supper at the Mitre, the doors were shut at my lodging. I knocked at 3 or 4 places more. All were abed and fast. Inns, taverns, none would give me entertainment. Now, would you have had me despaired and lain in the streets? No, I bethought me of a trick worth 2 of that, and presently devised, having at that time a charge of money about me, to be lodged, and safely too.
As how, I pray you?
Marry thus. I had not my heels against the ground a good while, knew not where to have a bed for love nor money. Now, what did I? But spying the watch, went and hit the constable a good souse on the ear, who provided me of a lodging presently. And the next day, being brought before your worship, I was then sent thither back again, where I lay 3 or 4 days without control.
Oh, you are a gallant. Is that gentleman a suitor too?
Oh, yes.
I
Eric,
am a
you
suitor.
will talk to yourself at some or near yourself, but yes, continue with Harrington.
I am a suitor in my friend's behalf. No, otherwise I can assure you, sir, he is a gentleman descended well, derived from a good house, well qualified and well possessed. But that which most should move you, he loves your daughter.
But were I to choose which of these two should please my fancy best, I sooner should affect this gentleman for his mild carriage and his fair discourse than my hot suitor. Ruffians I detest. The smooth and square behaviour likes me best.
What say you to me, lady?
You had best ask my father what I should say.
Are you angry, sweet lady, that I asked your father's consent?
No, if you can get his consent to marry him, shall it displease me?
Indeed, you therein have much forget yourself to sound her father ere you tasted her. You should have first sought means for her goodwill and after compassed it.
He can prevail with neither. Gentlemen, if you will come to revel, you are welcome. If to my table, welcome. If to use me in any grateful office, welcome too. But if you come as suitors, there's the door.
The door?
I say the door.
Why, sir, but tell me not of your door, nor going out of it. Your company is fair and good, and so is your daughter's. I'll stay here this 12-month, ere I'll offer to trouble your door.
Sir, but you shall not. Tabor, where's that knave?
Why, sir, I hope you do not mean to make us dance, but you call for Tabor.
Nay, Master Sencer, do not urge the knight. He's incensed now. Choose a fitter hour and tempt his love in that. Old men are testy. Their rage, if stood against, grows violent, but suffered and forborne confounds itself.
Where's Tabor?
At hand, noble master.
Show them the door.
That I will, and take money too, if it please them.
Is thy name Tabor?
I am so eclipsed, sir.
And Tabor, are you appointed to give us Jack Drum's entertainment?
Why, sir, you do not play upon me.
Though I cannot, yet I have known an hare that could. But knight, thou dost not forbid us thine house.
Yes, and forewarn it too.
But by thy favour we may choose whether we will take any warning or no. Well, farewell, old knight, though thou forbidst me thine house, I'll honour thee and extol thee, and though thou keepst me from thy daughter, thou shalt not hinder me to love her and admire her, and by thy favour sometimes to see her. A cat may look at a king, and so may I at her. Give me thine hand, knight. The next time I come into thy company, thou shalt not only bid me welcome, but hire me to stay with thee and thy daughter.
When I do that, enjoy my full consent to marry Gratiana.
'Tis a match. Strike me luck. Wife that may be, farewell. Father-in-law that must be, adieu. Tabor, play before, my friend, and I will dance after.
And exeunt Tabor Sencer Haringfield.
When I receive thee gladly to my house and wage thy stay, thou shalt have Gratiana. Doubt not, thou shalt. Here's a strange humorist to come a-wooing.
Re-enter Tabor.
Tabor, are they gone?
I have played them away, if it please your worship, and yonder at the door attends a schoolmaster. You sent for him, if you remember, to teach my little young master and mistress.
Ah, a proper scholar. Pray him to come near.
And we'll just briefly pause there on that. So, yeah, we've got a different wooing circumstance here. We've got two wooers again. Well, technically one isn't a wooer, but she seems quite interested in him. He's just there for moral support, saying, "Hi, my friend's great," and she goes, "I quite like you actually, because you're not really annoying." Whereas Spencer is another Sencer rather. There's no P there. Is he turns up and, "Hello, I'm well." He probably may not have that accent from Northamptonshire, but he's, Northampton gentleman, born, lots of money, love your daughter. Cool. No, there's the door. Bugger off. I do love, I really like that thing. If you're here for this, welcome. If you're here for this, welcome. If you're here for my daughter, go away. It's really nicely put together, and yeah, I'm liking all of that and things. Yeah. Any brief thoughts before we finish the scene? There is some more to go. Eric.
I get the impression that Tabor is kind of like, he's heard the Tabor joke before, like, oh, ha, yeah, totally not heard it before. Yeah, the whole sort of play upon a Tabor or Tabor and hare and that kind of thing. Yeah, he must be annoyed by that point.
I do love the way the scene opens with, I've got news. Tell me the news. I can't tell you the news. Can't you? Could you give me my wages, please? Okay.
But also, he tries to weasel them out of money. He's like, yes, I can show them the door, and if they have money.
Yeah. So, but I just love the way, he gets the money out of him from telling him absolutely nothing of any value at all, and it's just really nice. And just going, okay, I'm liking this. These relationships are working. They're really nice. And yeah, does he actually literally play them out? I love him if he, picks up a pair of bagpipes and just goes out. It's like, yeah, I do this every day. It's the only reason he hired me. We're a pun-based family. So yeah. Let's finish the scene. So, because we may have another hare running now. So, enter a pedanticial schoolmaster, Sir Boniface.
Quaes honor artus, salve saltutas, non video quis est in tergo, sed salve bon virgo.
Sir, you may call me nicknames. If you love me, speak in your mother tongue, or at the least, if learning be so much allied unto you that Latin unawares flows from your lips, to make your mind familiar with my knowledge, pray utter it in English. What's your name?
Should Faustum to be omen. I'll tell you my nomen.
Will you tell it to no men? I'll entertain none ere I know their names. Nay, if you be so dainty of your name, you are not for my service.
Intende vir nobilis.
Not for 20 nobles. Trust me, I will not buy your name so dear.
Oh, ignorantia. What it is to deal with stupidity. Sir Henry, hear me one word. I see, preceptor legate vos vero neglitis.
I think he saith we are a company of fools and midgets, but I hope you shall not find us such, master schoolmaster.
A friend, to cut off all vain circumstance, tell me your name and answer me directly, plainly, and to my understanding too, or I shall leave you. Here's a deal of gibberish.
Virapone.
Nay, make me no bones, but do it.
Then in plain vulgar English, I am called Sir Boniface Absey.
Why, this is something like Sir Boniface. Give me thy hand, thou art a proper man, and in my judgment, a great scholar too. What shall I give thee by the ear?
I'll trust, sir, to your generosity. I will not bargain, but account myself mille et mille modis, bound to you.
I cannot leave my mills, they're farmed already. The stipend that I give shall be in money.
Sure, sir. This is some miller that comes to undermine you in the shape of a schoolmaster.
You both mistake the scholar.
I understand my English, that I know. What's more than modern doth surpass my reach. Sir Boniface, come to me 2 days hence. You shall receive an answer. I have now matters of some import that trouble me. Thou shouldst be else dispatched.
Sir Boniface, if you come to live in our house and be a familist amongst us, I shall desire you better acquaintance. Your name and my physiognomy should have some consanguinity, good Sir Boniface.
Quomodo valis, quomodo valis.
Go with you to the alehouse? I like the motion well. I'll make an excuse out of doors and follow you. I'm glad yet that we shall have good fellow come into the house amongst us.
Valivere magne.
You shall not have me at St. Magnus. My house is here in Gracious Street.
I know it, sweet knight, I know it. Then, Verico Formose, et Domine Gracios Valete.
In Gracious Street you shall hear of me.
Exit Sir Boniface.
He shall instruct my children, and to thee, fair Gratiana, read the Latin tongue.
Who shall, Sir Boniface?
Sir Boniface, you fool.
His name is so hard to hit one.
Come, daughter, if things fall out as I intend, my thoughts shall peace have, and these troubles end.
And thus closes Act 2, and the B plot is ticking over here now. I mean, is it a B plot? Is it the C plot? I mean, there are quite a lot of interwoven threads in this, and that's quite nice. So yeah, we're introduced to. I don't quite know where this is going yet. I mean, but we shall see. I'm sure there will be some more tying of threads together, and some knottings may occur. Sarah.
Sir Boniface, he's the guy that the wise woman mentioned earlier, isn't he? Who she said something about how he was going to marry Luce. She was going to set him up to marry Luce.
I have bespoke Sir Boniface to marry her in the morning.
Right, okay. So
I think that means to marry somebody else to her, doesn't it?
oh, right. That makes way more sense, because I was getting quite confused there, because he didn't mention it at all, or there was no kind of
Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
he is a deacon. So,
So he's right. So he's going to be the one marrying. Right. Thank you for explaining that.
performing the service.
I think so, because Sir Harry certainly didn't act like somebody was welcoming a future son-in-law.
No, unless they know something he doesn't. But
Yes.
that's probably where it's going. Alan.
I have absolutely no idea of what most of what I said was.
I don't think it matters.
Yeah.
I genuinely don't think in this scene. I mean, it will matter for an actor to doing the scene and things, but it's as ever. It's about other people not having a clue what you're saying, rather than actually what you're saying meaning anything. Like the Varley's ale house Vales. How I don't quite know how you make that pun work as a pun, but Aliki does. Aliki does. I will go to Aliki and then Lynn.
Say, it's a wonderful little clue to how the early moderns pronounce Latin, because it only works if it's Quomodo Vales.
Yeah. Yes, Komodo Vales, go with you to the alehouse. Bomb!
I think Sir Boniface's Latin is pretty terrible anyway. It looks to me like very simple phrases, so he probably is pronouncing it as if it were English.
Right. Maybe he's passing himself off as a scholar when he isn't much of one. He's just rattling off some little bits of Latin he learned as a schoolboy.
Yeah.
This may or may not be useful later on. We shall see. Lynn, then Eric.
Yeah, I read a story about an aristocratic couple who were betrothed at long distance and wrote to each other in Latin. And then when they met and attempted to communicate in spoken Latin, couldn't understand each other because there wasn't a Europe-wide pronunciation convention. So they couldn't understand each other, even though they nominally spoke this common language. So yeah, we try to modern scholars try to reproduce what they think classical Romans, Wales, would have said, but evidently there was no attempt to do that in Europe in the early modern period.
Yes, and there are variations even today. So there isn't there are sort of various conventions, and you sort of, for your production, you need to decide which one you're following, but you don't have to really follow anyone too strongly. Eric, I think.
I'm just insane by the fact that Tabor just went from being, I thought he was going to be, one of those one scene wonders in the previous scene with the Wisewoman and the Kitchen-maid. And then he turns out to be this sort of, well, not informant, but you sort of meet his world as well. And he's, there's a part of me going whether he actually knows that Sir Boniface is just cod Latining all over the place or not, because he seems to interpret things the way he wants to interpret them rather than mishearing the way Sir Harry does.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a very much a clown tradition here of deliberately distorting the previous person's intended speech, and it's a question of how much of that is character doing a funny in the room, and how much of that is the clown doing the slightly shady clowning of slightly muddling which universe they're standing in, and just for the sake of a good joke, delivering it. Yeah, and yes, you're right. I mean, he's another thread that ties the Wisewoman plot to this, in the same way as this plot is tied to the other plot because the four chaps were all gambling at the very beginning of the play. I mean, structurally, as I'm sort of drifting into final thoughts here, structurally, this is really nicely put together. I think that they've introduced in this second act in two scenes. I mean, there's only two scenes per act. This is wonderful economy in terms of, I mean, there are units of action within these scenes, but introducing a second string of plots, but which are woven into the plots. Sometimes with Heywood you feel the episodicness is too episodic. This, at the moment, there's still time for it to go horribly wrong. It does all feel like you have units of action, but they are also moving the action forward. and the plotting is really good, and yeah, and I mean, I think as ever we're going to have this problem of, you know, how does the play end is going to determine how much we enjoy the play, because I'm enjoying it. I'm loving all of this. That I have almost no meaningful criticisms of the text. There, you know, there's the odd line here and the odd bit hit there. But so far, it's doing fascinating stuff and doing it with great economy. It's not a long play. I mean, we're doing it over 3 sessions, but it's one of the shorter ones for 3. So I will start going around the room for final thoughts. I'll start with Alan because he's waving anyway. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, the one thought I had in terms of the way that you've got the episodes, which are all basically driving the plot forward. About the only cul-de-sac that we had was the Tabor and the Kitchen-maid, which almost seems like it's just thrown in there to give the groundlings something to chortle at.
Well, well, yeah. I mean, I think the Countryman before Tabor and the Kitchen-maid definitely is there. Is the setup? Is to set up the Wisewoman. There may be more to that. It's introducing Tabor earlier, so it may be doing more business. But anyway, carry on.
No, I mean that was my main thought on that. Apart from that, it all seems to be running with a lot less extraneous material than we get in many plays of this period.
It's very tight. It's very tight work. Lois, any final thoughts?
Well, just that, as I'm always saying about Heywood, he really does write good parts for everybody. I mean, I've absolutely loved the 2 characters I was playing, and I think you know, most of us have had a really good time with the roles we were given. It's just really nice to get a dramatist who, obviously, because he was an actor, is thinking about actors and making it worthwhile for them to do these parts.
Yeah, because I'm curious now. Sort of most of the parts that have really obvious overt things. I think Second Luce is doing really interesting work because mostly living through asides, and it's really interesting contrasting Luce and Second Luce. That we've got Luce who doesn't say that much or hasn't said that much, and I'm not quite sure what's going on with her. I do wonder whether that's a part that's got enough writing to it so far. In contrast with Second Luce, who's giving us, you know, a great deal of you know, material. Though I don't know whether beyond a certain cynicism, but then I feel Second Luce has learnt to be cynical by the actions of the universe. Emma, any final thoughts?
Yeah, really enjoying it. I'm enjoying the comedy and the pace and the gradual unexpected reveals that come out. And yeah, the 2 characters that I've read, Sencer's very funny. I love his vanity and the fact that he just cannot comprehend that people won't like him or give him what he wants. He just can't comprehend that at all. And then Second Luce, yeah, I think she gets the audience on side straight away. It's probably because of the asides. And she's very intriguing. She's fun to play and very intriguing. And I'm sure she's got a big backstory that I really hope comes out in the course of the play.
I mean, it's a comedy, so we don't necessarily have the play isn't necessarily going to delve as deeply as we'd like. It's moving at pace. I mean, I'd like to know more about the Wisewoman, but I suspect we're not going to find out much more about her than we already have. But you know, I could be wrong. Eric, any final thoughts?
I'm just sad I'm not going to be here tomorrow or the day after. Like, I want to know how it plays out, and it's like, you know, but I don't know, it might be like the curse of the final session, which I hope it's not. Just because, like, I'm intrigued by the dynamic also between Sir Harry and Tabor, where it's like the dynamic between them is a bit like Onion and his boss. I think it's one of the counts or something. I can't remember his name. From The Case is Altered, where you got, which is Ben Jonson, which was also fun, except, you know, there were more different jokes in that. Yeah, and it's just fun at the moment, aside from the really creepy characters like Chartley. Yeah, I mean, they're fun to read and play. Now, like, if you sit down and analyze it being a comedy, it's bound to have some stuff that is creepy, I think.
Yeah. We haven't got there
and
yet.
inappropriate.
Yeah, we haven't fully got there yet, but I'm sure the ending will disappoint. I'm basically just going to set the room up here and just say I fully expect the ending will, on some level, disappoint. It's what the early modern comedies do, but I'm hopeful. You know, let's focus on the journey, not the destination. Desperate backpedaling goes on. Aliki, any final thoughts?
Well, I'm really rooting for this one. As we've already said, it's very tight. It's undermining our expectations. And most, if not all, of the jokes are landing for me. And maybe that's just because I'm a simple person and I love a pun. But I'm really enjoying this. Can't wait for tomorrow.
Lynn, any final thoughts?
Yes, I'm just going to go ahead and lean into my unhealthy obsession with genre. That's me. So I am really interested in this play's relationship with genre. I think genre is really important because it instructs the audience how to engage. And so this is doing a really interesting job of both meeting and undermining generic expectations, which is always really interesting. I mean, the most watchable drama does a little of both. It sets you up and it tricks you, it fakes you out, but in the end, the larger structural expectations are met. The marriages are ones that we approve of, that sort of thing. So I'm really interested in the way that this play is both meeting and undermining our expectations in terms of how, you know, love comedies go. I also really appreciate it's sort of not cynicism, but it's realism in its engagement in its interest in marriage. Marriage is transactional. It's still transactional. We don't like to admit it, but it is. And this play is just very upfront about that. I want to marry a guy who's going, I will respond to a man who will marry me because that is what makes my functioning in society possible. You know, so first Luce is very level-headed. It's like, oh, I'm in love. No, she likes Chartley, but she's like, put a ring on it. And you know, as Robert was observing, there might be quite a bit at stake with second Luce. That it was not uncommon for relationships to be consummated once they were publicly, once the engagement was made public. So yes, she may have quite a bit at stake because she's no longer a virgin, may even be with child. Yeah, this sort of hard reality of life in the early modern period isn't being avoided or skirted around. I'm enjoying that. But it's Heywood, and you know, Robert just warned us. Heywood lets me down with some regularity. So tomorrow will be fun, and then my heart will be broken the day after that. I guess I'll just embrace myself.
Yeah, but you know, it's fine. We can change things.
Yeah, maybe you just need to get your like dramaturg's hammer out and just hammer it into the shape that you want.
Yeah, it's almost basically it's the last 2 pages is always where it just all goes horribly wrong. You know, as I've said many a time before, with a tragedy, at least everybody dies. Sarah.
Yeah, I can only echo what other people have said. I love it. I'm rooting for it. I'm fully expecting it to go wrong, but in my heart, I really hope it doesn't, because I'm just in such awe and admiration for Heywood here, for what he's doing in this play. I mean, it's all been, you've mentioned it all before. You talked about the structure, which is just incredible. And Lois talked about the characterization, which that was the thing that got me really, well, both actually, because it's just so beautifully and tightly structured, but then also every character, there's something that you could do with every single one of those characters. There's not
I mean, with perhaps the exception of, putting my director's head on for a moment, quite often when I read these plays, I'm thinking about how you would bring a character who's maybe quite flat on the page, how you'd bring them to life. And there's always loads of stuff you can do with them, because once you start to physicalize something and you give someone a characterization and they have a way of bringing it to life, then you can make them funny, or you can make them, whatever. But with this, it's all there. It's all there in the text, with the exception perhaps of the apprentice, who, I mean, you could still make him funny with his one line or whatever. But everybody else, even the kitchen-maid, who's like got 2 lines or whatever, it's everybody, every character is just so memorable. And in my head, I can, when you put all these different people on stage and bring this play to life before an audience, oh my God, it's just going to be delicious. It's going to be so packed full of laughter and wit and colour and these brilliant larger than life performances. And it's making my heart sing. But who knows where I'll be in 2 days' time? So,
well, if nowhere else, here. So we are so far very, very happy. There's an awful lot of really good material, if nothing else. There's just some individually lovely scenes. I've really enjoyed the cold reading. I've really enjoyed some of the gambling. There's just some really nice examples of sort of a well set scene that you can play around with. Eric.
I just like the idea that the wise woman is so busy she hires a secretary.
Well, you've got to keep track of these clients,
She needs a personal assistant because she's.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
So, till next time, when we find out what happens with the Wise-Woman of Hogsdon. Is she wise? Is she a woman? We will find out more on these things when next time. All that remains to thank all the wonderful readers for all their wonderful reading. Thank you very much, and goodbye. I can see so much in the urine.